So because there's something wrong with me, I decided to make myself a swimming pool full of gold, which in itself is reasonably impressive. But then someone in the comments told me they were semi-disappointed in me because I didn't duplicate the treasure chest. And so I thought to myself, you're absolutely right. So things today are definitely going to escalate in a big way. Now the first thing we're going to need to do is abandon this save file, because for some reason it doesn't seem to work that well anymore. It's a little laggy. Then we're going to start the adventure all over again. And wow, look at that, we have FPS again. This is also a phenomenal idea to be starting right in the middle of the night. Now the first thing we're going to need is a treasure chest. So we're going to go ahead and steal a dull pickaxe and use it to fulfill our dull hopes and dreams. Because in order to get a treasure chest, you need to find the 4 pieces of treasure buried here on the claims. Luckily we don't actually have to use this. We can instead cheat in a gold pickaxe, which takes much bigger bites and would save us much time. But when I realized that that's still too slow even for this little claim, we'll go ahead and upgrade to the ruby pickaxe, which takes colossal bites. Plus I just really like the color of that. And when this one's still feeling just a little bit slow, we'll upgrade all the way to the onyx pickaxe, which is incredibly hard to make normally, but takes massive bites out of the earth. Come on, I know you're hiding in here somewhere. Well, you know what? That's okay. My time is completely useless anyway. But you already knew that, didn't you? You definitely have if you've seen my channel before. Well, anyways, there's 4 pieces of treasure hidden somewhere in the ground, somewhere in the world. There was none on the basic starter claim. So we'll just reenact when I found it before. There's a sword in the ground. Respectfully carry it into the Cave of Wonders, put it on its amazing pedestal, pretend you somehow found 4 of them instead, and abracadabra, you have one pretty large volume chest of valuables. Go ahead and throw that in your truck and take it to the market where you find out it's really only worth $68,000. But to me, the real value of this is in how big it is, because one of those chests is worth I don't know how many gold nuggets. According to my guesstimates, one of those is probably equal to space of 12 gold nuggets, so we need 12 times less chests to fill up the same amount of space. So you can probably imagine where this is very painfully leading us to. I've just sort of got to find the right hole to fill. So using the most ridiculous pickaxe that there's ever been, we're going to go ahead and click once, and there we go. Just the kind of hole I was looking for. It's fairly deep, but not too wide, so I think we could probably fill it up with treasure chests reasonably easily. And I dropped my flight hat off the edge of the world. I got a few ideas of how I can do this, most of which are probably all going to fail in their own unique and wondrous way, but eventually we'll get set up on something that halfway works. And this suddenly feels a lot bigger. I'm not complaining, I'm just confused as to how suddenly we have a bigger treasure chest. Anyways, we can duplicate them now, at which point they fall into my face and don't go anywhere. But once we perfect this little process, we'll have treasure chests everywhere. They are a little bit big, so it makes it a little bit awkward, and they fall kind of slowly, so I kind of spawn them in one at a time. But in a way, that's kind of nice, because as we spawn them one by one, they fall down, and the game doesn't really have a lot to manage. I can actually spawn them in quicker, but they kind of morph together for some reason, and that's not helping anyone, but so far we have a pretty good start to this. So maybe if I get rid of that, and then I drop it here, I just need them to free fall without touching anything on the way down, because if I'm going to finish this sometime in the next 12 hours, I need this to work very efficiently. Well, if I do it here, they more or less disappear instantly. Okay, adjustment number 1. This one's an easy one. I put the flight helmet on, then I can sit out here and do it, and then they'll fall as quick as they possibly can. If I'm looking down, it might also be slightly faster. It is not, but luckily I can still spawn them as I wish. It might actually be faster to spawn them onto a conveyor, but for now I've spawned 30 of these, and I've actually made quite a bit of progress considering that's only 30. I still feel like it's going to be a really long night. Luckily I do have an auto clicker I can use. I'm just a little scared as to what's going to happen as soon as I try. So without further ado, auto click. Okay, it spawns them pretty quickly. Are they morphing together though? That would be my concern. Sort of. We're spawning like 3 at a time. That's just going to take up room. That doesn't work, unfortunately. I've just spawned in another 50 treasure chests, and that's actually taking up a sizable piece of that hole. So we're probably going to need 1,000 to do the entire thing, or more realistically, but I've got time if you do. I've just added another 50. I might have been a little optimistic in my I need 2,000 treasure chests, but only time will really tell for sure, and I'm not actually going to count. I also remembered that there's sometimes giant versions of sea creatures, so I was hoping there was something bigger than a treasure chest I could also fill things with. It seems these are all spawning in the same size. I was really just hoping to find one this big, but I don't know if that legitimately exists in game. If not, it should. That would be wonderful. Well, that was a fun 30-second distraction from the monotony of this. After a little bit of messing around with my auto clicker, I realized that 370 seconds is pretty much the perfect spawn time. I can't imagine why anyone else would care or ever waste their time with something like this, but I just thought you'd want to know. So I'm going to go ahead and spawn chests here for about 10 minutes and see what happens. Okay, I thought the game broke when it auto-saved. It definitely had to think for a second, and we're nowhere near done, so that's not a great sign. But that pile of chests is actually getting really big really quickly. Okay, it's probably been about 5 minutes, but I'm getting too excited. I can't wait. Look how big this gets. It gets so big so quick. Like, it's already legitimately almost as tall as the ground. Okay, a few minutes later, and I might have actually gone too tall in the middle. But things will work themselves out. I'm just gonna let it keep going. This is actually working strangely well, strangely fast. It's actually working so well that I need to move some of these, which is actually pretty hard in itself because if I'm wearing my flight cap, I can't drop them. But I can probably run on them like a literal Scrooge McDuck. Yep, this feels right. I've always wanted to climb on a giant pile of money. It's not as practical as you might think as a walking surface. Well, since that side's getting pretty full, let's see if we can get a little bit of stuff right over here somewhere. Okay, I'll just move myself over here to where there's still the deepest part of the ground because we've still got a little ways to go over here. So we'll let this run for 10 minutes and come back and see how badly the game is screwed up. Another 10 minutes or so and we've got another about equal sized mountain. This may seem like a lot of treasure chests, but that hole still probably isn't even halfway full. Going back to somewhat ground level for now, you can kind of see the massive mountain we've created already, and it's just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's something very strangely satisfying about this one. I don't know why, but I'm just really enjoying this. It would be nice if they kind of bounce down a little more evenly because I'm getting peaks and valleys, but it kind of imitates a natural landscape. And if I really felt so inclined, I could start doing flybys to deliver them to different areas. The problem is the stupid flight cap won't let me drop a chest midair, so I have to take it all the way here and let it go. And then the flight cap itself rolls away into oblivion. But we're actually getting reasonably close to there. I think part of the problem is we're not dropping from high enough either. The farther they drop, the more they're going to spread on impact. The game will probably also struggle with this just a little bit more. So if I duplicate the chests from here, they're going to fall right to there, but they're going to spread out in a really big area that's hopefully going to leave less of a peak. Or whatever, we'll figure this out when we get there. This is such a half-baked idea anyway. My new pal theory seems to have worked. I even landed one over there somehow. Also, I just realized I've been recording without the game audio on this entire time. Not that you'd be missing anything except for whatever this sound is. But this is coming along pretty nicely. We're definitely at about ground level, a lot higher in some spots. We just need to do the front a little bit. I might have even gone a little overboard, so I'm going to kind of smooth that part out. Are these getting bigger as we go? Why do these seem enormous suddenly? The first ones definitely weren't big. Not this big. Well, again, I shouldn't really complain because the bigger they are, the quicker this goes. Okay, I've decided that instead of jump leaping these off into oblivion and unstucking myself, I'm just going to go ahead and roll with it and create an even bigger mountain. Because I'd say the hole is more or less filled in adequately, so let's just make a big mountain in the center. The game still performs perfectly fine. I'm very impressed. And this time we're going to go way up high. That way they spread out nice and evenly in a big mountain. Not that we don't have a lot already, but we're just going to need a whole lot more. And I get a really nice view from up here. I can see across the entire world. And when these drop, they're going to land right about there, which is somewhat centered, and they'll spread out as they see fit from there. That's definitely a pretty good mountain of treasure chests. I'm very happy with what I've created here so far. But now the question is, what do we do with them all? It's got to be worth a lot of money. And there are always nukes. And they explode roughly this much. Which does look pretty good. Maybe if I was able to sprinkle a few of those amongst the treasure chests, it would help clean things up a little bit. And if I'm seeing this crater correctly, I think I just set off 2 nukes at once. So I've got a little test to try. I've gone ahead and dropped 10 nukes on the ground. I just want to see if they'll chain react and all go off at the same time. And I think they might have, because my guy sort of just died. But as I unstuck myself and look, yep, they absolutely all went off at the same time. Which is pretty fantastic to me. It just makes sort of a girthier mushroom cloud, and I've always wanted girthier mushroom clouds. So I think you know where this is going. To my little fortress in the sky, with my absolute monstrosity below it. Which means we don't need this anymore, our original treasure chest that we were duplicating. We're just gonna set up to rain 1,000,000 nukes down across the land. And I've just reloaded the game and I did it very easily. And that's very exciting, because I've also just discovered this, which is called a mega nuke, which is supposed to be many times bigger than a regular nuke, so we're just going to do a quick side-by-side to make sure that's accurate. Normally I really hate this tedious building stuff, but for the sake of an experiment like this, it's very exciting because I can't wait to see the results. Not even hills will stop me now. And even after all this time in practice building stupid stuff, I still cannot line these up properly. But with a weird little kink in the bend, we're ready to see which one is bigger. Ready, set, go. That was anticlimactic. Does it not go through the hill? I've decided to work around the bumps in the ground for my hopes and dreams to hopefully come true now. Does this work? There it is. So the mushroom clouds are the same size-ish. Well, maybe not once they get going a little bit. If I'm seeing this correctly, this is huge. Oh, there's the relic. I was thinking this mushroom cloud is bigger because I think it is, but the nuke itself is smaller. Maybe not. If I unstuck myself and moved back, it might be a matter of perspective. Whatever the case, this thing is enormous. Also, that moved over there now for some reason. Not really sure what that's about. We have all sorts of things. These are the pipes I destroyed. There's also what's called a throwable version of the nuke. I'm not really sure how that works. Oh, I see how it works now. You light it and then set it off and then it blows up in your face. So that's it. Click to activate and it throws itself and then you just step back and watch everything explode. And we'll find out if there's any more treasure here on this claim. It seems there's not. But then also if you wanted to mine a lot of ground a lot quickly, like if you want to see if there's treasure on this claim real quick, we can just fly around throwing the non-throwable type nukes, because these will all get blown up from a nuke at some point anyway. We're just kind of distributing the explosion. So I suspect it probably wouldn't take more than this 15 or so to really make a colossal explosion if we just set it, I don't know, there. If they all set each other off, that's going to make for a pretty big explosion. Well, it set off 3 of them. Are any artifacts down there? Nope, but there is a big gaping hole, so we'll just go ahead and throw a few of these sort of around. They're very quick to throw. That's kind of alarming to me. And just like that, we have the apocalypse. That was a good chain reaction. Those ones are going too. I like mods like this. I'm very happy someone made these. But you still see there's an artifact. You still need a lot of these to get the proper sized explosion. But from down here, it definitely seems like a different world. And the game somehow handles that pretty well just fine, so this is a really optimistic. It's a good day. I might have to be a little bit careful about just how many of these I spawn in, but I can probably spawn them in pretty quick. Can I auto click them in? Well, actually I kind of can. This is probably 2 per second and it's already been about 10 seconds, so there's already 20 mega nukes somewhere below me. The game is not at all going to enjoy this. But let's turn that off for a second, try and get an idea of, well, they're kind of clustering up in the same spot. But I mean, to get a proper chain reaction, you kind of do need them to do that somewhat. So maybe I'll try and drop a few this way. Is that going to make a difference? Nope, they all drop more or less in the same spot. Well, they do spread out. It's hard to see because they tuck into all the little holes down there. Honestly, for this distribution, I'm better off just going like this. I'll just throw them in all directions from up here until I'm satisfied, which sometimes takes a little while. But they're going to settle down into every little nook and cranny. This aerial bombing technique really gets them distributed nicely and in a hurry. They're all flying in all sorts of directions. I think there's probably almost enough. I just want to throw a few more around and we'll see if the game can handle this. It might just immediately crash. I also don't really know where I want to sit for the best view, but I'm going to try throwing one from say here and then backing up, which means we start with the throwable mega nuke and we drop it down and hopefully it lands before it goes off and chain reaction, it crashes the game. Yeah, didn't like that, but I see the hole forming. I can still record, so the CPU isn't melted, but the game is going to have to take a second to think about what happens next. There's like 1,000 nukes sitting there. I think I've actually created a black hole within Hydroneer, like it's just an empty void of gravity so dense it implodes on itself. I'll concede I maybe went a little too far on the nukes, considering not a lot of them blew up yet, but we'll give the game time to think. I didn't get the blue spinny thing yet. I reloaded the game. I'm going to try it again. There's less nukes distributed, I think, but there's probably too many for the game to enjoy. They are sort of everywhere at this point. I do think there are a few less sort of towards the backside though, so that might be our saving grace. I'm gonna throw one kind of towards the front. And moment of truth, where did that go? Is that gonna work? Is that gonna make a big explosion? Well, it's gonna make a big explosion, not the one we wanted. They'll get over there with the rest of them. Okay, well, I'm not very good at throwing nukes. That might actually catch something though. Yeah, that caught an extra one. The real mother load is up here though. That should do it. We've already got 3 mega nukes going off. What's 1, 10, 15,000 more? Game doesn't like that one so much. Yeah, I think I might have gone ahead and borked the game again, so there's no saving the game at that point, and that's a shame. If only I understood the concept of moderation. But speaking of which, I kind of have another fun idea. What happens if you set them up in like a chain? Will they set off okay like that in a line, or will that also blow up the game? There's one way to find out. I'm going to try and throw this right here so it sets off the first one and none of the rest right away. And see if this will actually work. It does. Okay. Yep, okay. This is another idea that took a lot longer than I thought it would. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how I got here to begin with. What I can say is that I suddenly just envisioned a chain of nukes all the way from where we started to this well down here in town. So is this going to work? I have no idea. There's less nukes than there is in a giant pile, but there's still quite a few of them because this trail actually goes for quite a while. Gonna have to be a little careful not to set those ones off because that will crash the game, but I guess without further ado, let's just kind of see what happens. I'm pretty curious about this one. Wow, that's so cool, all the way to town. And the game handled that perfectly fine, but it doesn't like my big pile of stuff. But yeah, this is gonna escalate considerably from here even. That's pretty fun though. It's going again. Pretty sure you could see this one from space if you wanted to, but yeah, we've got some more work to do, but for now I should probably sleep. My brain needs the help.